Welcome to the Own Your Best Life podcast. I'm May Emson, your host, leadership and mindset coach. Here, we talk all things spiritual, mindset, business, leadership, and wellness for the modern seeker who wants to align their life with purpose and inspiration. We'll cover career changes, stress management, meditation, energy, intuition, and more. Each episode holds spiritual and practical tools to help you live a life of your wildest dreams without getting burnt out along the way. Ready to live a life on your own terms? This is the Own Your Best Life podcast. Welcome to episode number 213 of the Own Your Best Life podcast. When work takes over our lives, it is hard for us to feel this sense of separation between ourselves and our work. We live, we breathe, we sleep thinking about our work. And at the same time, we're also really happy when we don't have to focus on it as much. And we start to wonder why our work feels like it is all encompassing. So today's podcast is on creating a full life where you can love your work, but it isn't the most interesting thing about you. So this summer, and summers in general, I always think they are such an interesting time to reflect on our work and how much we focus on our work. Because in the summer, we actually tend to take more breaks, and whether it is more socially accepted to take time off given school schedules, or that there's this collective idea that it's okay to enjoy ourselves a little bit more during summer, there is this feeling of a bit of this break, this respite. And I've just taken 2 weeks where we were in Japan, and it was an epic bucket list kind of trip because we had all these family members with us. It was my mom, my brother, his wife, my other brother, and his wife. So it was 9 of us in total. And then we are heading into another trip in August with Jay's side of the family, where we're doing the same thing, but we're going to Vancouver and celebrating 50th wedding anniversaries, 70th birthdays, all the things. So this is the summer of big family trips, and it always brings to mind this sense of, wow, time is short, and we have to plan these things pretty far out in advance for them to happen. And at the same time, the reason we have to do that is because work just has such a big force in our lives. And without us planning things ahead of time to take breaks, we just keep going. And what I noticed was when I was on the trip to Japan, right? One of the interesting things I thought about only later is that we might have had one conversation about work across the entire 12 days. And whether it's for a variety of reasons, whether it's because we're not always in the same industries or we have less knowledge about what we do, it's just not the focus of our conversations. And instead, the focus is on what are we doing now? How are we enjoying the views, the food, the unexpected surprises and differences, little wins that we're celebrating, interesting things that we're noticing about culture or places. And we're not focused on work. And some of the people who care about us the most and whom we share deep relationships with don't care about our work the way we do. They care more about our well-being, whether or not we seem to be fulfilled. They care about what we think about our work. And so sometimes this sense of, is it really a problem, is much more this sense of, okay, do you find it to be a problem, or are you okay and everything is actually really good, versus they actually have strong opinions about every single thing you do. So I just find that very interesting and helps me, and hopefully you all, as you're taking some breaks this summer, reflect on how we can be people outside of our work. Yet we do spend such a large portion of our lives so focused, anxious about work, thinking about it, that it often takes over and it affects the way that we interact with people, even on trips, even on time away for ourselves. And it's normal for us to have such a big focus because we have such busy schedules that we keep working on vacations and we keep working during the time that we have away. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, because I do think sometimes you can just keep things going and it's not very stressful at all, or it causes almost zero stress, or it's actually stress reducing to do some work. But it's one of the reasons why we almost have no time to truly disconnect from the work we do. Whether it is new projects, emergencies, requests, demands to see progress on shorter and shorter timelines, it all creates this pressure to hurry up and figure things out at work. And with all the meetings, the firefighting, we tend to find that the only time to do work is in the after hours or the early mornings. Weekends become this great time to do work because there are fewer emails and fewer distractions. And this, again, all very normal. It then starts this process of wanting to see results. Well, we're putting all this time in, and all this work that we're putting time into, we're wanting to see results. And then we see the results, and then we get satisfaction from the results, and then we put in even more time and effort and energy. And what we focus on grows. So eventually we do have really interesting, really fulfilling work that we can truly be proud of, and where we can see our expertise growing. And this is one of the best case scenarios of dream jobs becoming real jobs, that you actually enjoy the kind of work that you are doing. But even here, even through a job that you love, we can become aware that if we have such amazing work lives and this was available to us, and through all the struggles you were able to figure out work that you actually really like and enjoy and are able to do, why can't we do the same in our personal lives as well? What would occur if we put a fraction of the effort into some of the biggest areas of our lives that we feel may need a little bit of help? And how would that effort create outsized results, whether it is our health or our well-being or even our relationships? These things truly affect the quality of our lives. Our health affects the quality of our lives, who we talk to on a day-to-day basis, how we feel about whether the relationship is thriving, and whether or not we have a lot going for us outside of work. All of these things sometimes will take a back seat as we're growing our career, as we're growing our ambitions. And we start to ask ourselves if we're as proud of our personal accomplishments as we are about our work ones. Are we in the top 1%, 10% in terms of health, relationships, quality of life outside of work? Whether or not that percentage is your expectations or not, the way we measure and define success outside of work is often overlooked because we don't spend as much time and we don't spend as much energy thinking about it as we do our work. And we start to find that our lives feel a little bit lopsided, that we've grown certain places in our lives and we're not growing others. So what if that wasn't the case? What if your work was the least interesting thing about you, even if you're really successful in your work? What if your work was an output of who you are as an individual? The quality of your presence, your energy, the leadership that you bring to all of life, not just one aspect where you're managing people or having this big scope and responsibilities. You might find that you don't need to get all of your joy from work anymore, and that you're more okay with it being a bit boring or even mundane at times. And I think a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, no, I don't want my work to be like that. But this is just a question to start to think through, because if you allow your work to become boring, it becomes real, even if it's your dream job. And real work, real day-to-day life has that tendency to become mundane, and that is okay. You won't have to travel for work as much because you get to travel in your personal life. You don't have to make the best friends in your work because you also have relationships outside of work. And you don't have to make all of your money in your work. I know this is going to bring up some questions because you're also thinking about who you are and how you can earn outside of this one job or one organization and what your financial situation looks like. The most influential person in your life is you. And if you're not inspired by yourself or who you are, you will tend to look outside of yourself to find the joy, to find the fun, forgetting that you're the one who brings this to your life, to your work, to all the situations that you're in. You'll think that you're getting passed over or not included, that you're not as supported. And instead of finding that it's easier to create support, if you focus on yourself, you'll start to ask and blame other people to do things differently. And what if you can do all of that if you have clear direction of a path forward for yourself, for your life, and you're not so tied to making things work in the way that you think it has to go? You will have changes. You're going to have changes in the organization, the businesses that you're in, that you're a part of, that you're employed in, that you create. And a lot of these changes are often outside of your control. And when your work becomes your everything, and I have seen this time and time and again, all your eggs are now in this proverbial work basket. You're not diversifying your joy, your quality of life, your experiences, your finances. So any setbacks, any failures, any hard changes, which are, again, inevitable, will create much more of this dramatic negative ripple effect impact than necessary, because you are over-indexed. If you're thinking about a portfolio, you're over-indexed in work. Those leaders that can actually sustain success across their lives are often seen as visionaries in their work. And what that looks like is that they usually have a strong point of view about their lives. They're thinking beyond where they are today. They're known for their work and their current success, but their work is an output of the vast amount of thinking and brain power that they have and that they're utilizing. And it's a combination of that and the type of person that they are inside and outside of work. And so instead of work becoming the reason they're successful, they are successful as a human in themselves, and then they create success where they go because of how they work and who they are. And so how do you do this? How do you create a life that's more inside out versus outside in, where your work isn't the most interesting thing about you? One of the very tactical tools that I work with people on is what I call your personal success map, or your personal strategy map. This helps you map out the strategy for taking what you care about and then creating multiple happy endings for your life, many of which can be achieved, but at different times. And what people usually do is that they go very linear. They say it's either this, either that. I'm either corporate or I'm starting a new business on my own. I either hate this world or I love this world. And so instead of this binary thinking, we start to have lots of opportunities, lots of options, and we decide which one we're doing now. And this takes you out of the comparison game, because you're going to stop thinking about what everyone else is doing and how everyone else has figured it out and why do they do all the things that they do. Because you're looking at your life, you're going to have so much going on for you that you start to relieve some of the pressure valve on you that forces you to feel like it has to work in this one place, this one organization, or else, because this is the only thing I've got going for me, or this is the only thing I can imagine being able to do. And you will start to see, where am I? and where are all these different paths I can take, and how can all of these be fulfilling? So it's not just one thing that fulfills you, it's many. And this also takes into account your personal interest and life goals, because usually what ends up happening are people are so busy and they don't know how to get off the wheel so that they can have some personal interests, some time, maybe even family come into more of a focus in their life. What are their bucket list things? Those things don't even get to come to the table unless their work slows down. So the difference is, even if you're busy, you're going to understand how to fit these things in and how they actually create more success for you, even in your work. I have clients who have come from overwhelmingly stressful jobs that are able to find new and different ways to integrate their kids, their personal lives, who they are, how they dress, even the kind of workouts they do, the kind of things they eat, the way they talk to their spouses and engage with them. They're finding space to be able to increase the quality of their life in all of these other areas as well. And that's this very different sense of balance that many of us are trying to achieve, but feel like it is just so far away. So again, you don't have to do any of this, but I want to offer that you do have the opportunity to go down a new path. You can find that life is more abundant with opportunities, with joy, with experiences beyond and including your work. And you can continue to make work everything and not see the personal life you desire. Or you can create this different path forward where work is not the most interesting thing about you, even if you love your work and what you do. And that is what I think is so amazing about the work that I get to do with people, is that I help people create dream jobs that become their real jobs and create space, balance in their life again. And so instead of feeling like you just have to run away to Costa Rica and start, something else where you're just living on the beach forever, you're starting to find happiness here and now, and not in this later place, not in a place where only once you retire can you do these things. Take time for yourself, invest in yourself, create a business that you love, create work that you love, or find a sense of stability and balance and confidence, truly confidence that this is the life that you want to be living. So you can have a more balanced life, and you can have more interests that you get to explore, things that you don't even know that you're interested in today. And you will see how all of that will start to affect your work life in the best of ways. You'll be able to bring your humanness, which a lot of times is what people struggle with as they become leaders. They feel like they have to become like maybe a robot instead of a person that is genuine and authentic. And you get to bring the real sense of who you are into your work by having more human experiences outside of your work as well. And those experiences will influence the way you live your life and the way that you work, and will give you this perspective that cannot be bought. So if you want to stand out and lead in this way, where work isn't the most interesting about you, even if you are proud, you're engaged, you're interested, and you love your work, I invite you to join this movement of spiritual achievers who are really thinking about how to create holistic success on their terms. And every day I see the scales tipping in that favor. So now is the time to really be on the forefront and to really work in a way where you're a great role model, you're fighting the fight, you're in the arena, and you are actually feeling like you're utilizing your potential, what you came here to do, and figuring it out day by day instead of thinking, at some point maybe I'll figure this out, or later, or look at that person, they figured out. You will be that person. and a beacon of hope for a lot of people around you as well. And so I offer that is available to you now. You don't have to have all the answers to know exactly what to do and when, but to be starting to take these steps to say, I want to be a spiritual achiever. I want to have more holistic work and life success is key. And if you want more support, I invite you to watch the free training, How to Stand Out and Lead. I go over spiritual and high performance strategies there, and you can go to the show notes at mayemson.com/213 and access the link to the Stand Out and Lead training. And I'm also going to invite you to join the Spiritual Achiever program, where you're going to create your next chapter using spiritual and high performance strategies, even if you have a busy life, so that you can achieve more space, more time, more financial freedom using my proven method. It is risk-free. You either start seeing results within your first month or you get your money back. So you can schedule your call at mayemson.com/contact. I'll see you inside. Have a good one, my friends, and I will talk to you next week. Thanks so much for joining us this week on Own Your Best Life. Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts so that you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, can you please rate and review on iTunes? I would so appreciate it. Share it with a friend, take a screenshot of it, and tag @MayEmson. This helps continue to get the word out. For more show notes and resources, check out www.mayemson.com. You'll have all the links to everything you heard here today. Thanks so much for listening. It's time to own your best life.